Greg Phillips from Australian Musician back with another episode of Gig Review and Photography with Jason Rosewarne, our photographer. How you going, Jace?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Greg. Yes, new.
Yeah, good. The last time we did this, or the first time, was with Samantha Fish and Jesse Dayton, and feedback seems to be pretty good, so we thought we'd give it another shot.
Yeah, why not? Sounds good to me.
Yeah, so this time we went to see Iron Maiden at Rod Laver Arena on their Future Past tour. Uh, For those overseas, Rod Laver Arena is where they have the Australian Open tennis tournament, and it's also a 15,000 seater concert venue. You've shot there many times before. Sometimes you get to shoot from the mixing desk, particularly with the
Hmm.
older acts who don't like close-ups. This
Yeah,
time you got to shoot in the pit. You were telling me that you were looked after pretty well.
yeah. I wasn't expecting to shoot this show from the pit. I thought it would be back at the sound desk. So, yeah, it was good to shoot from the pit with such legends. So, their tour manager met us about 10 minutes before the show, and she gave us a rundown of what would be happening. She treated us really well and told us that the guys would be, they knew that we'd be there and they'd be posing for us. And she said, you probably don't have to move around a lot. They'll come to you. They move around a lot. She gave us a briefing as to, she said, when the Doctor Doctor song comes on, she said, that's when you'll go in and you'll get some great crowd shots. The house lights are still up and the crowd knows what's happening when that song comes on. So she said, that's when you'll shoot back towards the crowd then and you'll get your shots for that. There was a couple of video guys in the pit as well. And she said, just beware of those guys. They're on platforms, but they might jump down and run along the pit with their cables and things. So she just warned us about that. Um, what else did she say? Oh, she made sure everybody had earplugs. She asked us if anyone had shot the band before. She thanked us for being there, which was really nice. We don't really get that very often, so
Yeah.
it was really nice to feel like you're appreciated.
Yeah. So at that point where you're led into the pit, you can gauge what the lighting's like. Are you still fiddling with settings at that point, or is everything predetermined and you're just shooting from then on?
Oh, look, I've got it down pretty pat now. I set my camera ISO to auto, and I've got a range that I work within, and then the only settings I'm using my zoom in and out, and the shutter speed and aperture. So they're both controlled with my thumb and my finger. So and the zoom is controlled with my left hand, and the two other fingers on my right hand are controlling speed and aperture. So I do play around with the settings quite a bit while I'm in there, but I sort of know the range that I'm working in within now. And, 1 minute in the pit and you know what sort of lighting's going to be like and what sort of settings you're going to need.
Yeah. And what was the gear that you used? It's probably the same as the last video, but let us know anyway.
Yeah, no, I had my harness on this time, so I was shooting with two cameras because we were in the pit. Um, I wanted to get a bit more of a range of shots, so I had the Canon 5D Mark IV with a Tamron 70 to 200 mil lens, and on the other camera was a Canon 6D with a Tamron 24 to 70 wide angle lens, so I could get those more dynamic close-up shots when the guys came close to stage, and then some more overall pics.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's always good to have the two cameras with a bit more range.
Yeah. How many other photographers were in the pit with you?
There was five others, so six of us altogether, which is a really nice amount of people to be able to move around and get the shots you want.
Yeah. The Future Past tour concentrated on the 1986 album Somewhere in Time and their most recent album Senjutsu. You got to shoot two songs, Caught Somewhere in Time and Stranger in a Strange Land, both from Somewhere in Time. Uh, Normally you get to shoot three songs, but it was only two this time. But It was a good 15 minutes worth, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, well, they were long songs, so yeah, the time was probably about the usual 3 songs length, but just shot over 2 songs. Yeah, it would have been nice to catch a bit of Eddie, but he didn't come out in those first 2 songs. But it is what it is, and the staging looked great, the lighting was great, so yeah, just happy to be there.
Yeah. A lot of fans were disappointed it wasn't more of a greatest hits tour, but really, how many tours can you do to the same fans playing the same songs? I applaud the band for keeping it fresh, not only for the audience, but for themselves. I think that criticism's a bit unfair, really.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are just diehard fans from the old days and just want to relive some of their youth memories, and they probably haven't listened to the newer material as much. So, but yeah, good. I agree. I think good on the band for throwing in some old stuff and playing the new stuff. That's the way to keep it fresh.
Yeah, the album Senjutsu is only a couple of years old. A little bit polarizing for the hardcore fans because it was a bit more proggy than their usual stuff. But songs like Writing on the Wall and Hell on Earth, which you didn't get to see because you had to leave after 2 songs,
Mm.
were well received, and it seemed like the fans knew all the words anyway. So I
Right.
think
Look,
that
there's no doubt that they have diehard fans that listen to all their stuff and know all the words. You could tell, some of the people in the front row were probably in their 60s and 70s, and just they were so excited to be there. I could see hanging on every word.
Yeah. As far as I know, the set list for the Future Past tour hasn't changed since gig one. So everybody probably knew what song was coming up anyway. And I think the older songs like Fear of the Dark and Iron Maiden and then the Trooper in the Encore were probably the most popular tunes. But overall, I think it was a great set. Again, not that you would know because you had to leave after a couple of songs, although you
Yeah.
weren't that sad because your football team was playing across the road.
Yeah, and we had a good win, so that was good. What was the staging like for the rest of the show? Were there many changes to the backdrops and things
Uh,
like that?
yeah, the backdrops change quite constantly. I was probably expecting more pyro throughout, but I think we were a bit spoiled by the final Kiss tour where the pyro was just constant for the
Yeah,
whole show. But yeah, certainly there was a lot of color with just the backdrops, and then when Eddie hit the stage with his gun and the pyrotechnic gun battle between him and Bruce, it got pretty exciting.
yeah, that would have been great to shoot that.
Yeah. What stood out for me musically was the triple guitar attack with Adrian and Yannick and Dave, especially when they played the same licks together. I thought that was rather powerful, and certainly Yannick gave you a great source of imagery to shoot.
Yeah, I think I spent most of my time over on the right-hand side of stage where Yannick was. He's really energetic and moves around and does some great kicks and is very youthful and playful. So yeah, he was great to shoot.
Yeah, I heard a punter complaining on the way home to his friends that with the three guitarists, he couldn't hear or couldn't fully appreciate Dave Murray, one of the original guitarists. I think some Iron Maiden fans still see Yannick as the new guy, even though he joined in 1990. He's a bit like the Ronnie Wood of Iron Maiden.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I thought he was a great addition. And I've never been a huge follower of the band, but he was definitely a highlight for me, shooting at least.
Yeah, and of course Nico's powerful drumming and Steve Harris's bass lines are always the backbone of any Iron Maiden concert, and they really are the engine room of the
Mm.
band. But one disappointing aspect was that unless you were sitting right in front of the stage, you couldn't see Nico.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the band manager warned us of that before the gig started, she goes, "Look, you're not going to see Nico. He's up behind his drums, and you won't see him. So don't even bother trying to shoot him." So we were pre-warned about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is disappointing a bit because I would have liked to have. I try to get a shot of all of the band members if I can, but no Nico, unfortunately.
I wonder how much of your photography is what you see in the moment and how much is anticipation of what you think is going to happen.
That's a good question. It's probably a bit of both, but I'm sort of you're so in the moment that you're sort of ready for anything to happen, and you've got your finger on the pulse. So anything that happens in the moment, you try and capture as soon as possible. I've got high speed shooting mode on, so if there's any movement, I try and pull back my zoom a bit and try and capture whatever's happening in front of me. You can pre-plan a bit. If you had hindsight, if you'd seen the gig before, you'd probably shoot it differently. But when you go into it fresh, you just got to be ready for anything to happen.
Yeah. One of the things that was really heartening to see in the audience were a lot of parents with their kids and even grandparents with their kids
Mm.
nurturing the next generation of metalheads. Um, I don't know what you could see when you were shooting back, probably a lot of old guys, but
Well, there was a lot of old guys and older women, but they certainly do their marketing well, Iron Maiden, and the amount of T-shirts I saw on people, and it, there's no other band does it like them, I don't think.
yeah, they're the king of the merch, that's for sure. Um,
Yeah.
Also, Killswitch Engage were the support act for the Australian tour. I guess you didn't get to hear any of that.
No, I didn't. We were we were still out front, ready to be escorted in, so they were on while we were out the front of the venue still.
Yeah, I got to see just the end of them, and they played Holy Diver and dedicated that to Ronnie James Dio, which was a nice touch and a nice education to the kids there into heavy metal.
Hmm. Yeah. And you enjoyed them from what you saw? Or?
Yeah. They're very powerful. They've got a very fat guitar sound and probably a lot heavier than Maiden, but yeah, the crowd seemed to get into them.
Yeah. So a good warm-up act.
Yeah. The other thing I noticed is Bruce Dickinson. His voice is still very powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's still got the energy as well. He was moving around the stage a lot and throwing microphone stands in the air and catching them. And he was very engaging. And
Yeah.
yeah.
He promised the audience that they'd be back, and I don't see why not. He's in fine form. The guitarists are still energetic. God willing, Nico stays healthy. But yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully we'll see them back in Australia again one day soon.
Yeah, well, I'd love to shoot them again if they do come back. It was one of the best gigs to shoot. A lot of fun for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, until the next gig, we'll catch you later.
Yeah. Thanks, Greg.